Let's get into some Boston Celtics rumors and news. And Kendrick Perkins went on Sports Nation, and he said it's time to make some changes in Boston. He says that the Celtics should trade Marcus Smart and Kemba Walker this offseason. And he basically said that outside of Jayson Tatum, outside of Jaylen Brown, everyone should be tradable. Those are the only guys who are untouchable in Kendrick Perkins' mind. And look, it's been a tough year. Certainly there's been injuries, there's been COVID issues, but I think there's something to the point he's making. I think you have to consider shaking things up if you are Danny Ainge. This year has been a disappointment. Again, I get it. They've been hit by COVID, probably harder than most teams in the NBA. You've had injuries as well, and you just can't catch a break. Jaylen Brown's not going to play in the playoffs. That's certainly a tough situation. Here's what Perk had to say. Longtime Celtic, of course. Time to get rid of Kemba Walker. It's time to move on from Marcus Smart. I'm not saying Danny Ainge should lose his job, but this offseason he should make some moves involving every player on that team if your name is not Jaylen Brown or Jayson Tatum. He's absolutely right. The Celtics got to make moves. Kemba Walker, it's a bad contract. Now, it's not Boston's fault. Knee issues have flamed up on him and have not been able to go away. But that's the reality of the situation. If you can move that contract, you should absolutely do it if you're Danny Ainge. And now, maybe it is time to move on from Marcus Smart. I love Marcus Smart. He's the heart and soul of this team, but at the end of the day, he's a defensive first, six-man type of player. If you can move him to get a more valuable asset, you absolutely do it if you're the Boston Celtics. And Danny Ainge has acknowledged, hey, we're going to do some things this summer. We got to change things up. He said, I think that we will definitely be looking to make some changes in the offseason. Obviously, can't go into any of those kind of details, but yeah, there will be changes. How significant? I don't know yet. We will see. So the Celtics GM agreeing with Perk there, saying, yeah, we probably need to make some changes around here. Now, Kemba Walker and Marcus Smart are two of your better guards on this team, but they're also players that you should be willing to part with if that means you can get better at other spots. I'm not saying it's, you just punt these guys out the door and you just let them go for nothing, but I'm shopping Marcus Smart. I'm shopping Kemba Walker if I am Danny Ainge, and I'm seeing what I can get out there on the market, and both guys have had injury concerns this year as well, so that's obviously a little bit of a concern long term. Who's out the door? You think both these guys are just one or, maybe neither. Type KW for Kemba Walker, type MS for Marcus Smart, type B for both. I think at least one of these guys is gone. I don't know which one it'll be, but I think Danny Ainge will mix it up this offseason. Get your votes in, KW, MS, or B. Let's talk free agency for the Boston Celtics here by Chat Sports. Will Boston re-sign Evan Fournier? He is obviously a free agent this summer, and he was the trade deadline prize for Boston. Gave up a couple of second-round picks for him and Jeff Teague. Who cares about Teague in that deal? I would like to bring Evan Fournier back. I think that bringing him back is smart, and you can go over the salary cap to do so because they have his bird rights, which means they can focus on other players first, fill up that salary cap, and then sign Fournier on top of that. I think it makes sense. Look, if you lose him, it's not a huge deal. You only give up a couple second-round picks, but this is a guy who I think can be a really good contributor in Boston for a while here. I'd give him 3-4 years, $18, $20 million per year. He's a good shooter. He's a good scorer. He can ISO a little bit. He's an off-ball type of guy where he can be a secondary ball handler. He can catch and shoot 41% from three, and we've started to see him have some good games for the Celtics here, but he hasn't been healthy. I mean, he got hit with COVID as well. It's been a lot of that this whole season for the Boston Celtics. I think they should re-sign him, though. I would bring back Evan Fournier. Now, I don't know how much I'd get him. I don't know if I would give him 4 or 5 years. Maybe could you get him for 3 years? 3 years and $55 million, 3 years, $60 million, something like that. I think he's going to be in that $17 to $20 million range because he can really score and he can really shoot, and that's just what guys cost these days, especially when they're still in their primes, which is what Evan Fournier is. If I'm Boston, I would bring him back, and to me, this is the ideal Celtics offseason. Number one, find a trade partner for Kemba Walker. Get him out of there just because the injuries have piled up, and I think we've seen his best. Sign or trade for a third star. Trade for someone, maybe it's part of a Kemba trade. Maybe you can get a meeting with Kawhi Leonard if he opts out of his player option. We'll see. Get someone in there to pair with Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and then re-sign Evan Fournier as your sixth-man flamethrower, 18 points off the bench, something like that. I think that is an ideal offseason if you're Danny Ainge and Brad Stevens to kind of maximize this roster moving forward. That is what I would do. That is what I would try to do at least. We know Danny Ainge has been reluctant to making trades in the past, but maybe this is the offseason he finally does something big when it comes to the Boston Celtics. So hopefully Evan Fournier is back because I think he's a piece that can help you win. Should Boston re-sign Fournier? Type Y for yes, type N for no. I've made it clear I would like to bring him back, but if you disagree, you of course can type N down in the comment section. Y for yes or N for no when it comes to Evan Fournier. Welcome into NBA Now. We've got some jerseys available for you guys at chatsports.com/NBA jerseys. Wanted to tell you guys about these deals before we go ahead and get into the latest around or on today's show. Chatsports.com/NBA jerseys. We got Steph, LeBron, Tatum, Luka, all kinds of different jerseys available just for you guys. Man, look at the Mavericks little alternate greens there. Those jerseys and a whole lot more are available for just about $100. Get a LaMelo Ball jersey. Chatsports.com/NBA jerseys. That link is in the comments. It is also in the description. Don't miss out on this deal. Chatsports.com/NBA jerseys. The Celtics playoff picture. Let's discuss it here on NBA Now. As of now, hey, they've clinched. Number 7 seed in the East, which means they are going to be in the play-in tournament. They're going to host either the Hornets or the Indiana Pacers, depending on what happens over the next couple of games for both of those teams. Boston does have a couple of regular season games left at Minnesota, at the New York Knicks, but they are locked into the number 7 seed. If you're asking me, Boston should want Indiana. I don't want to mess with LaMelo Ball. I know what that guy can do on any given night. I would rather take my chances with the Indiana Pacers, who have been playing better as of late, but not as talented of a team as the Hornets. So you look at the remaining games for these three teams. We already mentioned Boston, at Minnesota, at the New York Knicks. The Hornets at the New York Knicks, at Washington, the Wizards, and then the Pacers at LA, and then at Toronto. So I actually think that you have a decent chance to play the Pacers because Toronto's tanking right now, and LA, yeah, they're starting to get healthy, but that's a winnable game for Indiana. So we'll see what happens. I think Boston would be in a better situation if they played the Indiana Pacers. So who will play Boston in the play-in tournament? Type H for the Hornets, type P for the Pacers. Get your votes in on this one. H for the Hornets or P for the Pacers. I think it's probably going to be the Hornets, but I hope it's the Pacers for Boston's sake. Now, you look at the Eastern Conference standings here, how things sit as of now. The Pacers are the Sixers on top, 47-23. Nets and Bucks right behind them. The Hawks, Heat, and Knicks are kind of sandwiched there in the middle, 4 through 6. And then Boston at 35-35 sits at the number 7 seed. And they are awaiting to see who they play in the play-in tournament. Again, it'll either be Charlotte or it will be Indiana. Washington cannot get up to the number 8 seed. They need to win a game or get a loss from Chicago to clinch a playoff spot. Here's the play-in tournament format. Boston's the number 7 seed, so they'll get 2 cracks at making the playoffs. If they win their first game, they're locked in. They're the number 7 seed. If they lose, they will play the winner of the 9 and 10 seed, and then the winner of that game, the loser of 7-8 and the winner versus 9-10 will get the final playoff spot. That is the formula for the play-in tournament in both the East and the Western Conference. So that's how things sit. Hopefully for Boston's sake, they will get to play Indiana and they can just win that game and move on. But let's face it, without Jaylen Brown, with the way this team's trending right now, it's probably going to be a tough road for the Boston Celtics to make the NBA playoffs, or to make a run in the NBA playoffs, obviously. That's how they sit. They are locked in to the number 7 seed in the Eastern Conference.